2023 MLB season was one to remember. This last off-season also provided us with a lot of drama. In this video, I'm going to predict the 2024 MLB season. I'm going to pick the winner of every division, and I'll predict the World Series matchup and the World Series champion. I'm also going to predict the MVP and the Cy Young in each league. Starting off in the AL East, I'm going to predict the Orioles to win the division. They have a great young core with many up-and-coming prospects as well, and they're led by Adley Rutschman, Gunnar Henderson, and Jackson Holliday, who, although he's going to start the season in the minors, he may play a big role later on in the year, especially as they make a playoff push toward the end. These young guys, combined with the addition of Corbin Burnes, should make the Orioles the favorite to win the AL East. Even so, you can't count out teams like the Rays, Yankees, and Blue Jays, as they all made additions this offseason, but I think the Orioles are the favorite here. Off to the AL Central now. I'm going to pick the Minnesota Twins to win this division. Now, it's the same story every year in both Central divisions, where they really just suck. Like, top to bottom are just easily the worst divisions in the leagues. I'm picking the Twins here. I think they have the highest ceiling, but I don't see them making any kind of a deep playoff run here. Alright, and now the final division in the AL West. Again, kind of picking the favorites here, but I think the Astros are going to come out on top. Last year, a lot of their stars were injured, and they're all back, and they also added Josh Hader to their already stacked bullpen. You can't count out the Mariners and the defending World Series champion Texas Rangers, but I think the Rangers are not going to have the same success they had last year, and I think the Mariners are just not quite there yet. They've got a really good foundation, but I don't see them beating the Astros in the standings. For my wild card teams in the AL, I'm going to pick the Blue Jays, the Mariners, and the Yankees. I think the Blue Jays have done enough and showed that they can compete with anybody. I don't think they're going to win the division, but I think they can compete, and will still probably win close to 95 games. Just shows how competitive the AL East is. The Mariners, as I just talked about, I think they've got a good foundation. I just don't think they're quite at that top level yet. And the Yankees, I mean, they pretty much buy their way to victory, and really hasn't worked out, but this might be the year. They just added Juan Soto, who I think is going to do very well in their little league size field. So I'm going to pick them to be the third wildcard team. Overall, I think the American League is a very competitive league. I think that there's a lot of young talent, and some teams are just not quite at that next level yet. I'm going to pick the Houston Astros to win the American League this year and represent them in the World Series. Alright, on to the National League now. Starting in the NL East, I'm going to pick the Atlanta Braves to win the NL East. They've already gone on a pretty good run the last few years. They seem to sign all of their young prospects to cheap contracts, and then when they break out in the majors, they're just paying well under their value, which allows them to keep adding more talent. This offseason, they added Chris Sale. We don't really know if he's going to be his old self or if he's going to continue to get injured and underperform. But if he can stay healthy, I think he's a huge addition, one of the biggest of the offseason. The Mets continue spending money and continue being disappointments. The Phillies are still pretty good, but I don't see them beating the Braves. And we don't really need to talk about the Marlins or the Nats. Nats might be the worst team in the league outside of the A's. In the NL Central, I'm going to pick the Pittsburgh Pirates to win the division. This might be a little controversial, seeing how they've been pretty bad the last few years. But they've got all the young talent in the world, and I think this is the year they start to put it together and return to the playoffs. This division, just like the AL Central, is pretty weak top to bottom, but I think the Cardinals are too old, the Cubs are just missing too many pieces, and the Brewers and Reds are just straight out not good enough to win. So I'm picking the Pirates to represent them in the playoffs. And finally, off in the NL West, pretty easy choice. I'm going with the Dodgers here. They had just another fantastic offseason, adding Tyler Glasnow and Yoshinobu Yamamoto to an already ridiculously stacked lineup. Oh, and you can't forget about Shohei Ohtani, too. We don't really know what this whole translator gambling situation is going to bring. The details are still coming out, but I think this could, at least in this early part of the season, be pretty impactful on Shohei, but I think the rest of the team is good enough to win the division still. The Padres, still pretty good. The Diamondbacks had a miracle run to the World Series last year, but again, kind of like the Rangers, I don't see them repeating that this year. The Rockies should be demoted to AAA. They suck. And the Giants are not bad, but not great either. Just added Blake Snell, but I don't know if that's going to be enough to bring them back to the playoffs. So I'm picking the Dodgers. For the National League wildcard teams, I'm going to pick the Phillies, the Diamondbacks, and the Padres here. I think the Phillies are still pretty good, and they can recapture some of the magic of the last few years. They've got the best home field advantage out of any team in the playoffs. The Diamondbacks, still pretty good. I don't see them going on a deep playoff run, but I think they can make it as a wildcard team. Pretty much the same story as it was with the Yankees, with the Padres. I think they're just spending so much money. It would be a huge disappointment if they didn't at least make the wildcard game or wildcard series. And again, I don't see them making a deep run, but you never know. Representing the National League in the World Series, again, kind of going chalk here, but I'm going to pick the Dodgers. I just think they're flat out the best team. However, I would not be surprised if the Braves made it too. So this sets up my World Series as Astros-Dodgers Part 2. And I'm going to pick the Dodgers. Again, I think they're just the best team in the league. Now, these are, along with the Braves, the three best run teams in the league. But I think the Dodgers can finally have their moment. I think all of their offseason additions should be enough to take them over the top. And I wouldn't be surprised if the Astros get bit by the injury bug again. So, your 2024 World Series champions are going to be the Los Angeles Dodgers. Alright, now I'm going to pick the MVP and the Cy Young Award winners in both leagues. So starting in the American League, I'm going to predict Juan Soto to be the MVP. I think his skills at the plate are going to translate very well to Yankee Stadium. And seeing how he only needs to hit it about 340 feet to get a home run there, I think he's going to have a monster year. That duo of him and Aaron Judge is striking fear into any pitcher facing them, especially at Yankee Stadium. And in the National League, I'm going to pick Mookie Betts. I think outside of Shohei Ohtani and maybe Aaron Judge, I think he's a top 3 player in the league. He last won the MVP in 2018 with the Red Sox, and I think he can recapture that magic and prove to everyone that he's still got it and win another MVP. Now for the Cy Young Awards, starting in the AL, I'm picking another Yankee. I'm going to go with Garrett Cole to repeat as the Cy Young Award winner. I think he's just far and away, all around, the best pitcher in the American League. Now, some would say Jacob deGrom or Max Scherzer, but both of them keep getting hit with injuries that kind of limit their potential. And Garrett Cole, if he stays healthy, I think he's clearly the favorite here. Now in the National League, this one could be a little surprising, but I'm going to pick Blake Snell to repeat as the Cy Young Award winner. He just signed with the San Francisco Giants, and their field is well known for being a pitcher's park. The duo of him and Logan Webb should be a very good 1-2 punch for the Giants. Now, there are a lot of contenders in the NL, like Yamamoto and Spencer Strider, but I think Snell can pull it off again. Alright, that'll wrap up this video. To recap, I've got the Dodgers winning the World Series, and I guess I'll throw in the worst team in the league. I think it's going to be the Oakland A's. Kind of feel bad for their fans. They just suck. The front office refuses to spend any money, and it's looking like they're going to move to Las Vegas in a few years. I'm also planning on doing predictions for the NHL and NBA playoffs, and I'm going to continue to do UFC predictions. I'm not the most knowledgeable guy out there, but it's fun, and I get to look back on it after and see which ones I got right. So if you guys enjoy these predictions, let me know in the comments. And that'll do it. Have a good day, everyone.